Deborah, with her 30 years of being an entrepreneur and creating over 7 companies, knows exactly what it means to accept the mission. When you make that decision, when you accept the mission to become a solopreneur, to take yourself and your talents to market, then you embrace a life of not only unlimited possibilities, but also the unknown. It's an elixir of fear and bravery that only someone who's taken the leap really understands. On our show, Deb digs deep with her guests to highlight what you, the listener, wants to know. The stories, the whys, and the hows to navigate the journey to success. Get ready to hear from some of the most incredible mission takers from Generation Z to Boomers. So sit up, perk up, and get ready to be blown away. Now here is your host, Deborah Drummond.
Well, my favorite people, my favorite podcast listeners. That's what you guys are. Hey guys, welcome back. Mission accepted. We're rocking it over here. Thank you so much. Mission accepted. What is that about? What is that about? It's about accepting the mission. And I know that you guys come and you have fun and you listen to these incredible stories and you get inspired. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for spreading it. It is always incredible to me to find out where we are being listened to in the world next. Because you know what it is? When you listen to someone who's decided to take the mission, no matter what that is, it kind of gives us a surge of, hey, I can do that too. And so, you may not decide to go from construction to keynote speaker like our speaker today, but you might decide to do something that you would consider super brave and super crazy in your life. And honestly, we'd love to hear that. So go ahead and send us some messages, shoot us some emails, and we'll tell your story on air as well. So I'm super excited to introduce Donna today. Donna is just like jumping off the cliff in bounds. And she is the ultimate story, one of those ultimate stories when you hear like someone's gone from their mess to their messenger, right? And I don't think it took this woman too much to think about this stuff is kind of going on for me. It's happening for me. And how can I help others with that message, right? And I share that all the time, you guys, like whether you're an entrepreneur or you're platforming a philanthropy project or what have you, many people have things that happen and they choose, right? Because it's a choice. It's a choice to get vulnerable. I mean, sharing your message is one thing. Sharing your story as a message, that's something completely different that takes a sense of vulnerability, a sense of letting people in. It's very different. I can tell the story of me being in business and I did this and I went to this company and I created this. It's another thing to say how I felt when I was doing that. It's another thing to say like, oh yeah, when I was going through my marital status change and I could barely get up in the morning because I didn't know what was going to happen that day. And I went out and I did presentations and it's different to let people into that part of your world. So thank you, Donna, so much. I cannot wait. You guys know at this point that we've got this crazy stand up, speak up and show up. What is it? The largest, and I'm saying honestly, the boldest International Women's Day event that's ever happened. And Donna's going to be hitting the stage twice. She's going to be hitting the stage twice in September. And also she is one of the wrap up keynote speakers on the finale, the very last. We're heading into number 3 when you're listening to this, and the very last of 22 with a full celebrity panel. Donna, thanks so much. Hey, look at you guys. She's like in her car. If you can't see her, this is called dedication. In her car, she's working in construction right now. This is what she does, and she's sharing. She's sharing with us a little bit of her messenger. So Donna, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've just said a whole bunch of things about you and you decided to take the mission. So maybe share a little bit about what that looks like for you.
I have experienced breast cancer and I was diagnosed in 2018 and it was a very bumpy, rough ride, but I know that it could have been avoided. And I want to get that message out. I want people to understand that just because we're not doctors doesn't mean we don't know our own bodies. That's the biggest thing for me is you need to advocate for yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you. And if you wait for that, you're going to fail. So for me, this new gumption that I'm on is strictly just to talk about all the opportunities that we have as women, and also the fact that we can speak for ourselves and not be mute. That's a big one for me. And also as a construction lady, a lady in construction, currently building a bridge, not with my two hands, but I'm participating in it. And you know, I've been in construction for 12 years, and it's not easy, but I'm still here doing it, right? Um, but I'd more importantly like to change that a skosh and turn it into something more powerful and more meaningful for me, other than saving lives. I mean, that's fun too, but it's time to switch it up.
Yeah, there you go. From saving lives to saving lives. You know what?
Yeah.
That's there you go. There's a title for you, because I remember when I was in my business, I want to unpack some of the stuff that you said, super powerful. So I was, I had my massage practice and my holistic practice. And, like you, I didn't feel like I was saving lives. I felt like I was definitely changing lives. Right.
Mhm.
So, and then when the opportunity came for me to go into another arena of changing lives, it was like I was leaving something I love for something that I felt like I was being told to do. And it's not always necessarily easy, because I think, knowing you, the little bit of time that I know you, I feel like when you go somewhere or you do something, people benefit that are around you. Like I could imagine working in an office with you and everyone knowing your name, because you're that kind of person that just makes everyone feel comfortable. And I think you have a considerable amount of kind of, I don't know if you want to call it energetic presence, but I think that you do. And I would imagine changing lives is a theme that's probably going to carry you till what I say, they throw dirt on the box. But, when I first heard your story, I related. I
Mhm.
had two girlfriends that unfortunately didn't make it due to wrong diagnosis. And I think about that message that you have about empowering people that we know our bodies. And I know people don't know your story. You had, a diagnosis that could have happened sooner and earlier, but
Mhm.
the fear, right? The when we give our power away due to culture, due to whatever, we're taught that doctors and nurses and people that are more educated or know more or older, sometimes they know better for us. And you had an experience where that wasn't necessarily the case. And it
Mhm.
is scary to sit in a doctor's office and go, you know what, I think you're wrong. Or
Mhm.
I think I'm right. May not even be that you're wrong. It's just that I think that I'm right. What was that like for you?
For me, I felt that powerless. Like when you're first getting the diagnosis, I was angry because the lump was there a year before and it was misdiagnosed. I was told it was regular breast tissue. And in your brain, and I was a workaholic, working 6 days a week, 12-hour days. I was just like, great, normal breast tissue. Let's just keep on trucking. But then all of a sudden, like that lump is bigger and bigger. And you just ignore it because it's normal breast tissue. But that's my mistake that I made, and that's the message that I want to get out there is the psychological drama that comes with that. The lady that took the first mammogram said, "Oh, cancer is not round or oval. It's round." Well, it's actually incorrect, and people that are in the medical system are speaking out of turn, and they shouldn't, because that goes into your brain, and you're like, "Well, she said cancer is not oval, like so you just kind of you play it out in your head, psychological games. And for me, I broke my leg and I went in to get my cast off, and I said to the doctor, can you check this out again, because I feel like it's taking over my whole chest. And he instantly panicked, and we were running to the cancer center and to all the things, to all the testings. And I feel like that was a whirlwind. And it
Mhm.
was like, I can't believe this is happening. And I can't believe I was right. And I can't believe I didn't go follow up sooner. Why did it take me to break my leg? And then on the spiritual side of it, I just like, well, that's why my leg got broken, so that the universe sent me back to the doctor, because you just never have time to go.
Mhm.
The psychological effects of cancer, period, whether no matter where it is, it's awful. And that is the largest demon that you have to deal with, other than toxic chemicals to try to treat it and endless surgeries. And I'm fortunate to have really good support at the Cancer Center for mental health, but a lot of women are too afraid to do that. and a lot of people, right? They're too embarrassed and they don't feel like they should. And I have to scream out loud and say, get the help you need to get through this, because it's not easy. You can't do it by yourself. And that a lot of people are just too timid. They just don't proceed.
Yeah. No, that's true. And because again, I think it depends on the culture that you're from, the environment that you're from, but by nature, when it comes to things like health, because we're not doctors, we haven't studied, or in law or legal, when you think of people that get different legal advice and what have you,
100%.
we've been taught not to go for a second opinion. We've been taught not to question that. And I think that there has been a pretty strong movement around listen to your body, listen to your body, listen to your body. But let's talk about something that's very, very common. And that is exactly what you said to yourself. You're busy doing life, right? You were working. Oh, there you go. First interview that I sneezed in. And we don't edit, by the way. So you're going to see that sneeze, because we're all about being real here, right? No filters and no edits. So,
it's my
but we're living our lives and we're doing our thing. And I think because we don't want that to be like, look at how many people, and not that you're passing over to the other, I was just talking to a lawyer this morning about doing a will, and it's shocking how many people don't have one, because we don't want to think about it. Like, we don't want to think about those things. And so I think it's even harder. To go and really find out things that we really don't want to know. And then
100%.
Life is so full. It's like, do we stop and question that? Go to another doctor, They said, it's okay. I want to be okay. But you ended up with.
But something's foreign. That doesn't belong there. So why do we accept it? That's the question I have,
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question?
No. I was going to say, you had a number of surgeries that could have been, how many?
18.
Yeah.
And I have another one scheduled for next week. I think it's getting postponed, but it's because I chose reconstruction. Had I known it was going to be like this, I wouldn't have done it. But it's one of those things that because the first surgery was the double mastectomy with immediate reconstruction, but it kept failing because when they're scraping, sorry if this is too
much. No, we're all adults here.
When they're doing the mastectomy, cancer cells can't be seen. All of them, obviously they see tumors and whatnot, but my cancer had gone all the way to all my lymph nodes. All my lymph nodes had to be removed on this side, and so the oncologist kept scraping and making sure it was clean. However, she took all the blood supply away, so the skin wouldn't heal, so it just kept busting open. They'd take an implant out and then they'd let the skin heal, because I couldn't have radiation unless I was healed. I couldn't have any open wounds. And it just literally kept going on and on. And I had all these surgeries trying to get this one to catch up, and so I've had surgeries where I was like, don't even bother putting me out, just let's go. Like, because you get tired of being put out. And if the numbness is there, and it sounds crazy, but you get so numb to it all after all of the surgeries, and it keeps going, and people are saying, well, why don't you just get them both off?
Yeah.
But then you're at that stage where like, well, I've already done 8, so the next one's got to work, right? And it just didn't work out that way. So I'm a believer and I'm a positive person, and I just like to think that all of my positivity got me through it. But most people don't have to do so many. I also had a hysterectomy in there. It wasn't all reconstruction, but it's a challenge. And I think I would advise people to really think about it before they decide to go with reconstruction.
Right. So when we talk about people have stories that kind of go from their mess to their messenger, right? Mess to their message. I think that all of us have something like that. But you obviously, yours is quite, I would say prominent would be the word that I would use. It's quite considerable. It's quite a, not an extreme case, but, we don't commonly hear about 18, surgeries around this particular issue. So when you think about, let's just kind of flip it and think about when you started to have that conversation with yourself, because what we talk about here a lot is about taking your mission forward, whatever that looks like to you, whether it's a private mission journey, whether it's you're standing on stage. And I mean, that's quite a, from construction to stage, that's quite a different platform. Right. And so what did you go through personally? I mean, we met, we're having this conversation, you've made this decision. I mean, whenever you go on stage, there's a book to follow for sure. There's that kind of thing. And one stage leads to another stage. And we know that when you speak, people get different things of it. Like someone might be so inspired from what you do, they go start an ice cream store. I mean, we don't know what flips in people's minds about, some people might hear it and go, we only have a certain amount of time, do your dream. Some else might hear it and say, I need to stand up and speak up in my relationships. Someone might hear it and go, I need to start taking responsibility for my own health and not rely. Like everyone's going to take their different piece away. But what made you decide, and what did you go through in making that decision to go, I'm actually going to share my story publicly on a stage?
Well, because I've been a DJ, I'm not afraid of that, which is great. It's an asset. But for me, I don't want women or anybody, men and women, to go through what I went through. It's unnecessary, and we don't know. And also, when I first got diagnosed, there's no support out there. None. Like, I called the Terry Fox Foundation Cancer, thinking that they would be able to advise me to groups or anything, and there was nothing. And that's something that I was like, well, I want to make sure that people know there are people that will speak to you and embrace it. I have quite a few women and men that have cancer that talk to me on the regular, and just it gives them comfort to know that I know what they're talking about. And so I decided to do this, because how else can you get your voice out and let people know this unless you go large?
Yeah. Well, and I know, like you talked earlier about, you obviously have a spiritual belief, because your I don't know if I want to say perception, because I'm with you on it, is that your leg got broke and all of a sudden you're there, you need to get your leg fixed. Like those kind of things don't happen. Right. And then it was just, happenstance or circumstance, if you believe in happenstance or circumstance or serendipity or what have you. And here you are. And this experience that you had of not being able to find support and wanting to get it out there could be very different to someone else's experience, but yet there's people that need to hear what you have to say. And putting it on a grand scale like that, I mean, it's the fuel that's getting you to do that. I mean, I know that even for myself, and I've stood in front of 20,000 people. I mean, I wanted to throw up before I went on that stage, right? I mean, let's get friggin' real. So, I was like, oh my, it was tough, right? You go and lights, camera, action. And we're nervous, but it sounds like to me that you've been able to get over what that looks like. And I mean, we get there when we get there because of just this deep personal desire to get the word out. It's overriding. Was there people in your life that all of a sudden went, you're going to what? Like, yeah. What was that like?
There's the supporters. There's the ones that say, oh my God, you're perfect for this. But then there's the ones that are like, really? You're going to do this? I'm like, yeah, why not? I trust the journey. That is my mantra. Trust your journey. And even though you're questioning it, sometimes you're like, really? You got to just forge ahead. And I think that people just truly miss that. They think that everything needs to be structured and they need to march the way they're supposed to march. And I am a rebellious lady, and I do not march the way I'm supposed to march.
Great. Or we have that idea. I was coaching someone yesterday, and they were like, we were talking about this experience, and they were giving me all the reasons it wasn't going to work yet. And so then I was like, after about 5 minutes, I'm like, our time's really valuable. I'm going to pull a Janis Joplin here. Can I interrupt you? I'd like just to interrupt that pattern. Right. And she's like, what? And I'm like, you just finished telling me how it wasn't going to work. I'm not sure why you're going down that road, but what if it does? And I think that much like what you said, people sometimes think too much in the future or how's it supposed to look, or did I go to speaking school or whatever the frig it is? I don't know. I didn't go to speaking school either. Right. Or I didn't, you know what I mean? Like it kind of goes, and you stumble a little bit, get up, and then the next thing you know, right? And if there's skills that, you need to learn, or I've needed to learn, or what have you, they'll come into play. They'll show up. If you need to learn something, it will show up, and then you can go learn it. But
when you can focus on something that you want to do, you can do anything. That's the reality.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the surprise that life can bring sometimes, hey, like the surprises that life can bring. So, next thing you know, you're going to be standing, speaking, talking, writing, or painting, or, having t-shirts made, or, running it's all very interesting. So I heard you talk a lot about, you didn't say it, but I hear you talk a lot about faith in the journey, finding a place. So you may have felt alone, but you were determined not to be alone. Really. You kept looking for that. That must have been a little disheartening to know that there wasn't anything out there that was being able to support.
It wasn't just that, because on a personal note, it's all personal, but my partner left. He couldn't watch me get sick and moved to another province and was like, that's it, I'm out of here. Shocked is all I could say. But then I was like, see ya. Like, if you can't handle this, I have no choice, but I have to. And then a lot of friends, believe it or not, kicked away. So then these are people that are very huge in your life. And then all of a sudden they're like, I can't watch this. What do you mean you can't watch this? I'm the one that has to do this, So it wasn't just, there was no resources out there. The Cancer Center has some, but it's not what I imagined it would be. So perhaps I let myself down. But I want to create that environment, even especially since COVID, having it virtual like this on a Zoom meeting or whatever, to be reached out to, and somebody said, I just need to vent to you because you get the terminology. And that's primarily what I get right now, is people just going, oh my gosh, this is happening. And then I can respond in a compassionate way, I suppose.
Yeah. No. I think it's really important to, we all need to be heard, right? And when you know that someone knows, it's like, why do we talk to someone that's had the same experience, or has had the same trauma, or even had the same job, and you're going to go into that industry, and you go and you talk to someone who's had that same job. There's something very been listened to and heard. And, you're not the first person that I've heard. I've had that experience, but in a different arena, is that sometimes when hits the fan, right? When things get tough, some people just, they can't handle it. And how did you unpack that? Or, are those relationships still intact, or did it change? Like, I guess there's just people that can't, right?
And even my parents, their life was busy. My life was busy. We didn't connect often. And so I really didn't expect them, and they live in Victoria.
Yeah.
I didn't expect their involvement. They were here for every chemo, because you couldn't drive yourself. They would come over, they would take me. So some relationships did change for the better, and some for not so good. But on the same token, that's trusting the journey. Okay, they're not supposed to be there. And they are, like, you just have to let go of the control. And that was the biggest part for me, was letting go of the control, because once you get sick, there is no control. You can't. You could choose, I guess, but I chose life. And there's two avenues. You can lay there, cry about it, be miserable, let go, or you could fight. And I'm not saying that everybody isn't fighting in their own way, but for me, I was determined to beat all the odds. And I was determined to get back into construction, and I was determined to rewrite my story.
Yeah, no,
that's just I'm stubborn. I'm an Irish, English, French stubborn girl. And it's a battle.
You had me at the Guinness. You had me at the Guinness. I know we're going to be sharing some fun times. And I'm really super fortunate because I get to do this with a lot of people all over the world, but Donna's in my hood. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So I really like what you said. I really like what you said about trusting, because it's a big one. It is a big one when you're going through something, and some people can be there and some of them can't for whatever reason. So just trusting that that's part of the journey and that they're not supposed to be either part of this experience in your life with you, or however that turns out to be, right? It's
100%.
because I think it's hard for people to admit, like, I can't be there for them for that. Like, for whatever reason, it's bringing up my stuff. And you're like, oh, maybe you should go to a counselor. You know what I mean? You're not going to tell them that. You're like, hey, maybe you're having a trigger.
That's just it, because cancer touches everybody, right? And so I understand that, or they got too much in their lives and they can't fully commit to me, or, a lot of people would say, I'm going to come and make you breakfast. Well, great, but then they don't show up because they're scared, so it's
Yeah.
And instead of getting angry about it, I was just like, that's it. It's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah. No. That's good. I think that's really beautiful. I think there's something really strong about that, because you, like many, have, said those words, right? Even when someone decides they want to be an entrepreneur, even when someone decides that they want to veer out from what they're doing, even if someone decides that they want to leave their work, even if someone decides, I know when I left the music world and went into 30 years ago, holistic services. I remember one of my friends is like, oh, what? You're so good for us now. You went and found God. I was like, well, I don't know if I found God, and I don't think I'm doing much different, but I'm just doing some massage, dude. Like, no insult to you, right? So it's like, it's interesting if you're changing or things go on and where people are at. So look, you are going to be on a couple of stages. You are going to have, presence in one of the most powerful books that's being put out for women in relationship to celebrating International Women's Day and these women of gumption. And so what was that like to say yes to?
Invigorating. I did a book prior, and that was super exciting. Like, I just never imagined being a part of anything like that. And then when this opportunity knocked, I honestly knew that it had to happen. I want to move forward with it, and I want to write more, and I want to get my message out. And, they said that I had 5 years to live, and I'm on year 4. So, I'm just going to punch on through and try to do everything I can to make myself happy. No, I don't want to work in construction the rest of my life. It's not about the money. It's about the opportunities, the people to meet, the positivity, surrounding myself with amazing people. That's what I need in my life personally. Construction is not that. And I mean, it's a job. It's good. But it's not fulfilling me anymore. And so I need to transfer myself into something more powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think we know when the fulfillment has shifted or changed. And I think we know when we have the calling. And so that's where the bravery and courage comes in, right? That's where sometimes stepping into the unknown or things present themselves and you have that decision to make. And neither decision is bad. Just one decision is probably more spiritually fulfilling. And here's the interesting thing. If you don't take that, by chance it comes around again, you will have an opportunity, but good on you. And, we need to hear more of people's inspiration. And I think the one thing I'd like to say is that sometimes people dismiss their story as powerful. Sometimes they think, yeah, but that happens to other people too. Sometimes they think, well, what is it about my story that makes it different than that person's story? And it's like everything.
Some people may enjoy me. Sorry, I was just going to say some people may enjoy it.
Yeah.
And some people may not, but that's okay. It's my story isn't supposed to affect everybody. And it's just whoever it does, it's a win, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do. Look, I know that you're actually in your car on your lunch break at this job that you have been serving and has served you until it doesn't, right? That's what things do. They serve us until they don't.
That's right.
And we grabbed you away from the office today, and we're so grateful that you made this happen. And we're looking forward. This is not the last time that you'll be on Mission Accepted. And we are so looking forward to your story, and we're looking forward to what also this project brings to you, because it's one thing to do the project and stand on stage, and then the beauty starts, right? Like, it's actually when you step off the stage that all those unforeseen, incredible things happen, and people come up, and the lives that you're going to change is plentiful. I have no doubt. So thanks for making some time for us today. And
I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. And so look, you guys, September 8th, 2023, May 11th, 2024 are the two summits that Donna's participating in, but there is 22 summits to be had. 22 summits of incredible women like Donna that she has surrounded herself with, and they have surrounded with her in locked arms. And we're going to be rocking the stage. We're going to be rocking the stage and rocking your world. And so the thing is, this is completely accessible to anyone and everyone in the world, because you know what? It's free. It's free for you. All authors, all organizers, and all speakers have put in the participation that is needed to make sure that this is globally free for full access. And even though we talk about it being, it's going to be 375 women, this is not just for women. We're not the only gender on the planet. We love everybody. And it is especially for our other gender to step in and listen to what it is to be, support, and be like, just kind of listen to hear what it is that we're going through. And our words can inspire you like your words can inspire us. So if you go to debdrummond.com to the events page, in the events section, not only will you find Donna, but you'll find all of the events there. Please, every month, this is accessible to you. On the 8th day of every month in 2023, all the way to February of 2024, there is a free event, full day of 13 speakers. And then we're going to roll it right into the most incredible launch on International Women's Day. And then another 8 weeks of 8 summits. And then the closing ceremony, where this woman's going to be keynoting. And that is going to be the closing ceremony on May 11th. We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of time to party with each other and be inspired from each other. So please jump on board, come on to the speaker event and summits. Donna, anything you want to say before we say go back in line?
I'm going to say a lot of people will also, for the male side, would need to ask questions about their spouses going through it and how they can cope. And that's something that is huge, because nobody knows how to handle this, including their husbands and spouses, right? So It's good for everybody to join, because there's a lot of knowledge to be had.
Okay. And look, before you go, we do ask one question that's completely different than anything that we've talked about so far. And so I know we've had some great conversation about music, and you can pick whatever it is that you like here. But if you were heading to a desert island and you had a suitcase, just one, and you had room to sneak in one album, and you were on your way, and it was an album that this is the album that you're going to be listening to for the rest of your days, what album would you take with you?
Trooper, here for a good time, not a long time.
Tommy Stewart, to the house. I got a story about him. You guys ever know Trooper? Trooper is an incredible Canadian band. I'm sure you know about Trooper, but here for, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. When I was cocktail waitressing, I was like, I'm supposed to get a real job. So, we're just making so much money because it's the 80s and we're all like, who cares? What was our bills? And no kids, right? So Trooper used to play every weekend at the club that I worked at. And anyways, long story short, I decided I was going to go be a personal trainer, and I was going to do aerobics because, aerobics had hit the scene, and I was specifically going to do aerobics for kids. And I had to put I had to put music together to my aerobics. Aerobics for kids. Here's where my head's at. I used Trooper. I was like, PTO. They're like, not quite what we were thinking. Anyways, I went and got certified, and I never ended up doing it. I just stayed at the club. So much for my attempt to be normal.
But that's the thing, is our journeys, like when my first journey was a psychologist, and I went so far in university, and then as soon as I did my practicum, I'm like, I don't want to do this, So we have, again, trust the journey, but it's when I was DJing, that was my last song on every night was We're Here for a Good Time. And it's my favorite for that, like you can't stay here, but you gotta go, but we're here for a good time. So let's have some fun.
Oh my gosh. When I worked at Rocket Tonight, it used to be White Wedding from Billy Idol. Anyways.
Best song ever. Okay.
Okay, we're going to the way back. We now know the music that we're going to play when she walks on the stage. Oh my gosh, Donna, it was such a blast to hang out with you, and I can't wait to see you in person. So look at you guys. You go out there and you keep the mission going on. You do whatever it is in your life. You just keep the mission going on. We will see you next week. Until next week, be well and stay groovy. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.